Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After you run through the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. A lot to talk about in today's show, some unfortunate injuries to break down. They continue to riddle this team. And I don't think people realize how much of an insane victory that was last night and how hurt the Dolphins were. It doesn't seem like anybody really follows the team that well. And even in the broadcast, I felt that was kind of not underlined enough. Chris Collinsworth definitely brought it up into the game. And he did bring up how banged up the secondary was, but something that I didn't even realize, and I don't know, I guess I didn't see the injury report, but Emmanuel Ogbah didn't play at all in this game, which is even crazier. And Melvin Ingram was on a weird snap count. I thought Van Ginkel played probably his best game of his career, though, in this game. But I still think Melvin is a better pass rusher. So there was a lot of things going on with the lineup of the defense, and a lot of injuries that this team overcame, not to mention the fact that Brandon Jones' injury was overcome in this game as well. I mean, that team our defense was hurt bad. And they still played phenomenal defense the entire game. Only 10 points. Shout out to Josh Boyer for all the hate he gets. I'm getting too far ahead of myself right now. I want to start the news. We'll start with the news here. This first news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins safety Brandon Jones headed to IR. He's dealing with a knee injury. Again, this comes from Pro Football Rumors. It doesn't look like he'll be back probably for the rest of the year, but he was put on IR, which gives us some hope. Maybe we get him back December, maybe late November, but it doesn't look good. According to Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald, the prognosis of the injury wasn't great. And what do you lose with Brandon Jones? I think, first of all, one of the most underrated players in the National Football League, probably the best box safety, and I'm not being biased, that I've seen all year. They don't really make them like Brandon Jones anymore. You know, Jamal Adams is very similar. They have two very similar games. You know, they're not the greatest ball hawks in the world, but they're so disruptive on the line of scrimmage. They're great open field tacklers. They're great blitzers. So similar games between those two. I would say those two probably do the dirty work better than any safeties in the NFL. Just as good as any safeties in the National Football League. Very unique skill set. Very similar to Rashad Jones as well. His game is very similar to them. He was a little bit better, probably had a better feel for the ball in coverage, but his bread and butter was on the line of scrimmage as well. So he's going to be missed in the run game. That's probably what he'll be missed the most. And some of those blitz packages too. But his feel for the run defense and those blitzes, even on run blitzes, it's great. And even in this game, he made a few tackles like he was shot out of a cannon. Very athletic, very smart player too. Has improved his coverage skills a great deal since he came into the league. And people forget that's why he was drafted, because, you know, when he played at Texas in the Big Ten, he played a lot of slot corner as well. So he has that pedigree, and he's improved on that a lot, his coverage skills this year, especially in man coverage. So his presence will be missed a lot. And I felt like in this game, Nick Needham's presence was obviously missed a great deal, especially in the slot. Same thing with Kader Kohu. I feel like hopefully we can get him back healthy. But the secondary is getting thinner and thinner. And with some teams dealing with injuries, have made a few trades over the weekend, like the Jets, obviously dealing with the injury of Breece Hall. Sorry guys, I didn't want to sneeze into the mic there, so I paused. But they dealt with those injuries with the trade for James Robinson, obviously. I would like to see us trade, because now it's gotten excessive. You know, before I was like, okay, Chris might want to see what the young guys could do. But the fact that he even has young guys hurt, like Kader was hurt the last couple of weeks. Nick obviously out for the year with the Achilles. Byron Jones, who is nowhere to be found. He's just lost at sea. Now the injuries are getting excessive. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, because obviously, publicly, William Jackson has made it known that he doesn't want to be on the Commanders anymore. Maybe there's something there to be done. I do like the way Josh has handled it, though, with his game planning. I think has been really nice, where he has double-teamed, or at least helped, and especially in that Steelers game, helped Igbinoghene out a lot. And X has been playing great football since he's been back from his injury, too. So, I like the way they've handled it schematically. They're trying their best, but there's only so many blows you can take to a team. And it'll be interesting to see what they do. I will say this to look on the bright side of things. If Igbinoghene can continue to play, I think his best game of his career was the Vikings game. I think the best play of his career was against the Steelers. And I honestly thought the game got off to kind of a shaky start with Noah. They kind of went at him a few times. But as the game went on, he played better and better. So if he can continue to consistently give us good football, then I'm all for him staying out there on the outside. It's just interesting to see what the Dolphins will do inside at the slot position. And who can, hopefully Cater can come back healthy. But yeah, if Noah can continue to play like he has, I will definitely be less worried about it. And it's actually kind of a weird turn of events to sit here and think about, maybe he has a bright future in the league, because the Vikings game, he took, after the pass interference call, he was all over one of the best second best number 2 receivers in the NFL. Like, he played really good football in that game, and in this game, got attacked kind of early on the sideline, obviously gave up the touchdown to Pickens, but after that, he wasn't a liability. He kind of he's been playing good football for the most part, so it'll be interesting to see if he can continue to do that, because they need him to do that. I would still like to go out there and get a veteran guy. We'll see what they end up doing. I doubt they will, but it's just something to kind of keep in mind. In another injury news, this is another unfortunate. Byron Jones will not play again this week for the upcoming game against the Lions. Very unfortunate. They need him back, and we haven't seen him play all year with X. And Byron is a very talented player, a really good football player, and it would be nice to have him back. But I don't know. He's been gone for the entire off season and now a lot of the regular season. So hopefully he can come back. But every time I read about him, it sucks. It's very disappointing. So let's get on to the game itself. And obviously the biggest news story of the day is Tua's return. But I want to start with the defensive side of the football. I really think, and here's who I want to give big props to for this victory. Josh, for sure. Josh Boyer's done a great job. And I want to talk about the coaching staff for a second. Josh has done a great job, but so has Sam Madison, Patrick Surtain, have done a phenomenal job with the development of some of these young players on the team, especially in the secondary, obviously, with Igbinoghene, and players like Campbell and Cater Coho, and even the job they've done with Keon Crossan, who's also hurt. They did a phenomenal job with him as well. And getting Justin Bethel ready for this game, who made some really nice plays in this game for a player of his caliber. So I just hats off to them for getting these guys ready to play and playing good football. And I want to say the defense just played great. The run defense is much better than it was a year ago. We have to do better with some of our four-man pressures. I will say that. You would like to see a little bit more fire there. And I will say, obviously, the loss of Emmanuel Agbo hurt. But I would like to see Melvin Ingram, and he was, for the most part, in this game, especially down the stretch. I just want to see him more in those situations. Because I do think he's probably technically, and when I mean technically, I mean like literally the game itself, the best pass rusher on the team. In terms of him and I would say Emmanuel are, and then I would say Jalen's third. So that is something that I would like to see kind of get going a little bit. We saw in some of the games, especially against like the Jets, and some of the other games, we kind of saw that kind of building up, and especially against the Vikings. I thought the 4-man rush was great. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've played a lot of mobile quarterbacks too. Kenny Pickett did a good job of evading pressure. So in some quick pass games. So the Dolphins play a lot of, especially upcoming against Jared Goff. I would expect those sack numbers to go up when they play non-mobile quarterbacks. I think it's a good matchup because a lot of athletic quarterbacks in the NFL right now. It's just hard to kind of get them down, but I think that has something to do with it too. But overall, the defense played fantastic. One of the more I almost had a heart attack on that last drive. Very frustrating game in that second half to watch, especially offensively, and that brings us to the offense. But again, perfect performance for the second week in a row by the defense. Had a great game against the Vikings, forced 10 punts in that game, and then had another dominant performance in this game, basically winning it for the team. So let's get into the offensive side of football. I want to start with the run game. I think it's starting to. First of all, I think the run game is significantly better from where it was at the beginning of the year. I think it's drastically improved. It's getting better week to week. Raheem Mostert averaged almost 5 yards a carry in this game on 16 carries for 79 yards. I think it's starting to kind of get going here, which is really good. And you saw the effect of that in this game, especially on some of those bootlegs. They were much more open and way less contested because the run game was actually working. Excuse me. So I think that's a fantastic sign for the future because I think the run game is definitely finding its footing. They just have to get the other running backs behind Mostert going. And Chase Edmonds is in a terrible rut right now. I mean, ever since he dropped the touchdown against the Bengals, he's just been not playing good football at all. He had 7 carries for 17 yards on 2 yards a carry, and he dropped 2 passes in this game, I think. And he has to be that. He has so much talent. He's very athletic. He had a great start to the season, those first 2 weeks, and has just fallen off a cliff. He tripped on a play that was almost a touchdown. Had a couple drops in this game. His confidence is just awful. It's not great right now. Hopefully we can kind of build him back up because I know a lot of fans want to give up on him, but he is by far, I think, undoubtedly more talented than the guys behind him. He just needs to kind of get it going again. And that leads us to the passing game in Tua. First of all, the first drive was phenomenal. I thought the first half was a really good half by Tua. Obviously, the last drive was a little weird from a head coaching standpoint, and the throw to Tyreek Hill down the sideline, not great, obviously. But I thought in the first half, especially not playing football and not practicing for a long time, I thought he looked really good, looks really smooth, great command of the game. You can tell the game has slowed down for him. I think that's the biggest thing I've taken away all year. His confidence is significantly greater than it was before. I do think the game has slowed down for him. He just feels more comfortable, and his feel for the game is still fantastic. I think you saw that in this game especially, and the difference between him and Skyler and Teddy. It also helps out the offensive line a lot because he does have such great pocket presence. He made a lot of really nice throws in this game. The one to Mike Gesicki that was dropped was a fantastic throw, especially in the red zone. And the throw to Sherfield was great. It was a very rocky, rusty start for him. And I think that's to be expected. It was very up and down all night. I will say that I did some of the situations we put him in, especially at the end of the game, putting him under center with 3 tight ends was an awful decision by Mike, I thought. if you're gonna pass the football on 3rd and 4, I think it was to end the game, put Tua in the shotgun, put Waddle and Hill in the game, Mike Gesicki obviously at tight end, and Edmonds in the backfield. I think we're probably gonna get 3 yards. I trust Tua. I like the way he's been playing ball all week or all year. Excuse me. I think he's a way better player than he has been. This was his worst game so far, and I think a lot of that has to do with the injury. But some of his throws were high, which I thought was weird. Some of the timing routes he was off, especially on the one he threw behind Reek. There was also another weird one where Tyreek kind of slowed down, and if he kind of kept running through the route, it would have been a huge gain. So the offense was just kind of off, and especially Tua. Tua was off in this game as well. But I don't think that's anything for Dolphins fans to be worried about. I expect him to still have a really good season, and I just like the way he looks. Again, it was not a good game by him by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, a little inconsistency on some of the accuracy stuff and some of the decision-making and reading the field wasn't fantastic, especially the one to Gesicki, which was another high throw. I think he saw the safety. He just wanted to kind of make it maybe a back shoulder throw or maybe throw it kind of a little bit lower at his face, but it was another ball that kind of got away from him. So I think that stuff is going to get cleaned up. I'm not worried about that at all. So I wouldn't worry about Tua if you're a Dolphins fan. I just really have liked what I've seen for him this year. I've seen some people kind of come down on him a little bit, but I'm not worried about it at all. But to end my thoughts on this game, one thing I want to hit on before I get to Mike McDaniel, there has to be some other guy. Now the third guy really in the offense that's showing up is Raheem Mostert. But in the passing game, it can't just be Waddle and Hill all the time. And I've said this all year, but someone else has to step up on a consistent basis that can be a great possession threat for the defenses to worry about. And it hasn't happened yet. Mike Gesicki with the drop touchdown in this game, he's been inconsistent all season long. Cedric Wilson he's literally been MIA. Sherfield is Sherfield. That's just Trent Sherfield. I don't expect him to be that guy. So, to me, the guy that has to step up and be that guy, especially in the quick pass game, has to be Chase Edmonds. He has to be more of a threat in the quick pass game for Tua, because they need someone else to step up in that role and to be consistent. And that's what I expected Chase Edmonds to be, and he hasn't been that yet so far. But he needs to we need to get him going in the passing game, because I don't see anyone else other than, he had 0 receptions for 0 yards in this game. He has to be better than that as the third down back. And someone has to get his ear and tell him that. We need you to step up, okay? You have to be that third guy out. We're not going to get it from Mike Gesicki this year. He had 3 receptions for 27 yards. He is not a good fit in this offense. I think it's clear now. Someone else has to be that guy. And to me, it's either Chase Edmonds or get Eric Ezukama off the dang inactive list and get him involved, because they need someone else there bad. And I honestly wouldn't be mad, and I know it sounds insane, but maybe they try to go out, and the Jets would never do it, to get in Elijah Moore or someone else who can kind of come in and be that possession guy. Maybe they want to get a change of pace back or someone like that, but they need someone else other than Waddle and Hill to be a threat in the pass game, because it's literally just them. And this is a team game. It's not an individual sport, and the other guys have to step up. Like I said, as of right now, I think one of the biggest holes in the team right now is just the quick pass game. They just need another guy to be a little bit more consistent there. And I'm just looking for 400 to 500 yards maybe out of that. And we're just not going to get that from anybody right now. So maybe if Mike Gesicki can play better, but for Chase Edmonds to have 0 receptions in this game is absolutely disgusting and unacceptable. The last thing I want to say, at least some of my thoughts of this game, I really don't know what in the world I don't know. Like, the two biggest blunders in this game were made by our head coach, and it was Mike McDaniel's fault. Now, this was his worst game coaching this year. I don't even think it's close. To run the ball twice at the teeth of the Steelers' defense, not to mention the fact that Chase Edmonds was in the game. One thing I will say, though, on the 4th and 3 or 4, I think it was 4th and 4, excuse me, it was clearly an RPO, and Trent Sherfield would have had the 4 yards if Tua pulled it out and threw it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was an RPO. Wasn't an RPO. Maybe it was just the way that the play was designed. But to me, it looked like an RPO. And Sherfield on the motion, he was wide open in the flat for 4 yards easily. Could have gotten more than that. So I was kind of confused, but I still hate the call, and it was a stupid decision. And even the third down call was bad. I don't know what he was thinking on that. We haven't been able to convert a lot of first downs in short yardage situations. I don't know why he thought we could do it there. Let Tua throw the football. That's what, honestly, we've been best at all year, is him. Just let him make plays. The offensive line was really good last night. I thought he looked good for the most part. Now, maybe some of the inaccurate balls shied him away from that, but you got to trust that the two guys on our team, Waddle and Hill, and I trust Tua to make that play. I trust Tua to get 4 yards on third. I think at the time it was 2 yards on third down in the red zone. Put pressure on the defense. I just thought that was an awful decision, and not to mention the fact he didn't kick 3 to go up 2 possessions on an offense that has been awful all season, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. So I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking right there. I just wasn't too happy with that. And then at the end of the game, where you gotta have it, Javon Holland just should have been the game-ending interception. The Steelers never should have saw that ball. This offense is way too talented to let defenses off the hook. If you're gonna pass the football on 3rd and 4, put our playmakers in the game and let them in the game. I don't understand why he did that. I don't blame Tua at all for that throw. I think, especially at that point, the offense was getting frustrated. And it was just a bad... he put Tua in a bad spot. He put the offense in a bad spot. And it was a bad decision. I thought that was a very underratedly bad decision by Mike. You can't go for... If you're going to go for the game, then put the best players on the field in the game. And if you're going to make aggressive decisions like not taking 3, don't run the ball up the middle with Chase Edmonds 2 times when this offensive line hasn't been getting short yardage. Put the ball into his hands. If we threw incomplete on that, I would have been way more okay with that. Still would have hated the decision. I would have kicked the field goal. But at least you put pressure on the defense and you put our best players on the field, and we went down with our best punch. But we didn't even get to do that. Like, we didn't even get to do what we're best at. So that was another part of it, which was just weird, that I was very mad at. I just thought those two things really made me upset. So that's my thoughts on the game. I don't want to be negative. It was a frustrating thing offensively. I do think this offense is trending in the right direction, especially in the run game. I think the offensive line is getting better. Don't worry about Tua. Don't worry about Mike McDaniel. I thought Mike's game plan was fantastic for pretty much the entire night. It was just those 2 decisions out of every other decision he made that were not great decisions. And I don't expect to see that from him again for the rest of the year. So I'm actually really... I think where the team is headed is in the right direction. I'm excited to watch the offense for the rest of the year. It's the most exciting offense the Dolphins have had in 20-plus years. I think Tua is having... And I think he will, when the season ends, it'll be probably the best quarterback season we've seen since Dan Marino. And I know that's probably bold to say, but I don't really care. I just like the way he's playing football right now. I think the defense, if Igbenogany can keep it up, and hopefully we can get some guys back healthy this week. It's just played great all year. I think Josh Porter's having a great season as a coordinator. So yeah, I think the team is great. It just there was way too much stuff that should have been capitalized on that wasn't in this game, and some bad decisions sprinkled in there. But overall, a great team win. It had to have it in the AFC, and it puts us back. And like I said, I think the offensive stuff will be fixed. I'm not worried about Tua at all. So I'm excited to watch. I can't wait for the rest of the season. I really do like this Dolphins team a lot. So let's get into the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. Start with, it was a great game. I almost had a heart attack at the end of the game. It was a great, huge clutch win, and I don't want to be negative on Mike because I think Mike's done a great job coaching this offense all year and really helping Tua out in his career. And I want to say this too: him beating Mike Tomlin, Sean McDermott, Bill Belichick, and John Harbaugh in the same year is very impressive. Very impressive. It's unfortunate that Tua got injured because I think the offense would be rolling even more now. I expect it to get better as the year goes on, and I think it's going to start rolling here soon, especially with the stretch that they have. But I don't want to sound negative on Mike because I actually love what Mike has done so far with the offense and the team. So I don't want to sound negative, but that doesn't mean he does everything right. I thought those were two weird decisions. But otherwise, he's been a great head coach so far. I think he's been fantastic. So I don't want to sound like it's kind of petty because he did coach the team to a win. The offense and some of the young players on this offense, he has improved their game a lot. And I love the scheme that we run. And I love his play calling. So I don't want to sound too negative on him over two decisions. Because I think some of the fan stuff against him has been a little overblown. It's like, all right, yeah, but he also has two of our receivers in the top 5 in receiving. He's elevated to his game a significant amount from a year ago. And I really do like watching the offense, especially since the run game's been back. And I've loved watching Tua all year. So I don't want to sound like Mike's terrible. He's not. He's a really good head coach. This next question comes from Steve. He says, do you think it's time to sit Chase Edmonds and give his plays to Myles Gaskin? That's a really great question, Steve. I'm not ready to give up on him yet. He's 2 plays away from being fine. That's what I would tell him if I was in with. I think you just gotta kind of keep trying to get him going because he is a very talented player. So I'm gonna say no. I would like. I'm not giving up on him yet. I want to see. He just has to make 1 big play or 2 big plays, and I think he's gonna be okay. This next question comes from Ethan. He says, and one thing I want to say just to answer Steve's question, like I said earlier in the podcast, we need a third guy, and he has the talent to be that James White of the offense. We just need him to kind of get it back again. So we'll see what happens, but I want to kind of try to keep him going. This next question comes from Ethan. He says, what would your solution to the Eichenberg problem be, and who is in particular fix from within or make a trade? I don't think there is an Eichenberg problem. I think his run blocking is starting to get a lot better, and I actually don't think there is an Eichenberg problem. I thought, now I will say that you would like the short yardage stuff to be better, but he's had a few blocks this year on screens and runs that have I don't know what his PFF rating is or anything like that, but I'm not too upset with his play. I don't think it's been that bad, especially in pass protection, especially in that game. The Steelers have good interior linemen, and Tua was able to step up in the pocket a lot. So I don't think he's playing terrible football. This next question comes, and one thing I will add to your question, Ethan, especially in that Vikings game, if Teddy's pocket wasn't so bad, now some of those plays it wasn't great pass protection, But there was a lot of the interior of the Vikings didn't do jack squat that entire game. Like I don't think the interior is that, especially in pass protection, bad. This next question comes from, and shout out to Connor Williams, who's playing good football right now. This next question comes from SM. He says, "Do you think we're about to go on a win streak?" Yes. It was a sloppy game, but we could have blown them out by 40, or not 40, but like 20 points, which, if Tua wasn't so rusty, that's what makes me excited. It's because I think Tua is a massive upgrade over some of the other quarterbacks that we have on the roster. I love the offense, and I think I think we're gonna start rolling here. This next question comes from Vladimir. He says, with Tua playing okay after 3 weeks off and our defense doing good, how many games you see us winning going into the bye? I don't predict, but I really like the vibe I'm getting. I like what I saw on offense, even though we didn't capitalize on some of those plays. And especially with the run game. If Mostert can do what he did in this game, average 5 yards a carry, pretty much, he basically averaged 5 yards a carry in this game. If he can do that, this offense is just it can go straight to the moon. It really, if Tua wasn't rusty, and even Rodney Harrison said it after the game, we should have beat him by like 20, but Tua just was low. He was off in this game. But I don't think, because there were throws that he made in that game that I was like, okay, those throws that Tua made to like Sherfield and some of the other throws, and some of the other throws he made earlier in the year, he wouldn't make those throws last year or the year before that. So I really do think it was just him being rusty. I don't think it is anything to be concerned about. So yeah, I don't know how to handle. I'm excited to see what kind of, like I said, if the run game can continue to get better like it has, the sky's the limit for this team. This next question comes from Steve. He says, what was Pittsburgh's receivers that bad, or were Miami's backup DBs just that good? To answer your question, Steve, the Pittsburgh receivers actually aren't bad. They're actually pretty talented. I like Deontay Johnson. George Pickens is obviously a very talented player. Chase Claypool is very talented. He just is inconsistent. But I do like Deontay and George. I think those two players are actually pretty good. And Freiermuth is a good tight end. So I would just say the DBs, especially if you go back and watch what Igbenogany did against Adam Thielen, I think they're trending in the right direction, especially Igbenogany. This next question comes from Jared. And to answer Vladimir Ilford, which is an interesting name, I don't think I answered his question right, but yeah, I think we're going to get on a roll here to answer Vladimir's question before the bye for sure. This next question comes from Jared. He says, should the Dolphins trade Chase Edmonds for a draft pick? No, I think, I don't want to give up on him yet, because I do think, like I said, I think he is talented. This next question comes from Steve again. He says, Tua averages about 1.5 touchdowns per game with 2 elite receivers, and that's this season, but it's almost the same for his career average touchdown per game stat in the NFL. So there's really no improvement there at all. It is obvious that the receivers are wide open. Tua has a great ball placement. When coverage is tight, his ball placement is off, often throwing behind the receiver. In more than one of the 7 games so far, our kicker has put more points up on the board than Tua. And if not this outstanding defense, we'd probably be 2-4. How can anyone look anyone else in the eye and to keep a straight face and say that Tua is going to win a Super Bowl? I disagree with your take. I don't think he was missing like that early in the year at all. The run game was nowhere to be found early in the season. I think it's starting to really get going, and I think a lot of that had to do with some of the quarterback situation that we had. It really started with the Bengals game, and it's kind of snowballed here, especially with Raheem Mostert kind of getting healthy off the injury. I disagree with the Tua take. I think it really was rust in this game, yeah, I don't think, even Tua said it after the game, and Mike said this too, that he hasn't had a live football practice at all, really. So I didn't see those throws early in the year. Be in that kind of inconsistent accuracy early in the season. So I'm going to disagree with that. I think I'm going to try. And to answer your questions about the 1.5 touchdowns per game, that has a lot to do with the fact that the run game has been great. Mike Gesicki dropping a touchdown in this game. And the yardage has been significantly, yards per game has been way up this year for this Dolphins team. I think it's more of a team issue, not an individual issue. I can't really think of... I think the only deep ball, too, has missed. I guess you could argue that deep post against the Bengals was a missed throw. I don't think so. I think it's good coverage, but I think the only deep ball he's missed all year was the throw against the Steelers last night, where it kind of hit Terrell Edmonds. You would like to see that ball be a little bit further out, and I do think, too, has the arm strength to do that. It was a little kind of mistimed there. But it's not like he's been missing on deep throws either. I mean, the one against the Bills was a beautiful throw. I think people got to pump the brakes. I don't have any doubts. And I stand by my statement. I said earlier, and I think he's going to go to the Pro Bowl. I think the rest of Tua's year for the rest of the season is going to be fantastic. I really like the way he's looked this year. So I wouldn't worry about that, Steve. I disagree with your take. And I do think he is the future of this team. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to say one thing before I end the podcast that's bothered me. Now, I really do like and I know people are going to freak out, and I've said this before on the show, but I do think it's a good sports show, and I think it's a fantastic football show if you're a hardcore football fan. But the Chris Sims Unbuttoned podcast, which I do listen to every week, and just some of the criticisms I've heard, his where he reviews the games each week, and this is something that I've heard elsewhere as well, where they say that all Tua does is those screens and stuff. That is first of all, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I'm being dead serious. That is so stupid. This team sucks at screens. The first play in this game was a screen to Tyreek Hill that I think lost 7 yards. They suck at screen. I honestly would go up to Mike and say, just stop running them, because for whatever reason, we just can't do it. I don't know why. We're not very good at executing them. So for people out there who want to say all it is short screens and 49ers football, that's just stupid. I wish they were better at screens. All Tua's throws were 20 yards in the middle of the field, 10, 15 yards in the middle of the field, 10 yards in the middle of the field all night on in routes, slants, posts. That's literally what it was all night. So I think and honestly, the average on Waddle and Hill, I think Waddle averaged 22 yards a catch in this game. So it's not like he's rink-a-dink-a-dunkin' down the field, especially in this game, especially at the start of this game. So I just wanted to get that off my chest because I thought that was really stupid. Anyway, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Let me know what you guys think about Tua. Do you feel as positive as I do about him? And I'll see you guys in the next one.